Dr. Peters here with a little whiteboard session to help you better understand why things become painful and why we get injured. Now, there's not always a clear connection between this event caused this pain. A lot of times patients are left wondering why they are hurting. I think the human brain likes to have a very causal relationship when sometimes that's not truly the case. So I've had patients say, "Hey doc, I think the reason my back is hurting is because I fell off my bike when I was 9 years old." A lot of time, I don't believe that to be true. I think the body is way more adaptable, and I think this whiteboard session will help you better understand why things become painful and why injuries happen. So ultimately, it kind of comes down to the terrible two. So if we can kind of think about doing too much, too soon, too often, or too fast, that is when our system is more likely to become injured or painful. So it kind of takes us down into this equation. So capacity is how much you can tolerate, and load is the amount of stress that you're putting on the body. Now that could be physical, emotional, or social. So depending on what symbol we have here, if your capacity is greater than your load, then you're less likely to become injured. But if we flip that around, maybe we're having some stress at home or at work, we're trying a new exercise routine. Sometimes when that stress exceeds capacity, then we're more likely to get injured or have pain, right? We've done too much, too soon, too often, or too fast. So some of our variables are off. So if we look here, we kind of have this IDF, and what that stands for is intensity, duration, and frequency. This is like about dosage. So a lot of times when people get injured, they blame the movement. It was the deadlift that hurt my back, and therefore I shouldn't deadlift. Many times I've found that it's not the movement per se, it's the dosing of the movement. It's inappropriate. When we talk about injury, pain, rehab, we need to talk about intensity, duration, and frequency. Intensity is how hard you do something. A sprint is more intense than a run. Duration is how long. Maybe you're running for 10 minutes rather than 12 minutes. And frequency, how often you're doing something. Are you exercising 5 days a week, or are you doing something every other day? So in the clinic, I just sent out an email early this morning that was titled, "The Doing is the Fixing." So we can actually use the activity that is limited or painful and make it part of the therapeutic strategy to get people better just by manipulating these variables. And we like to only manipulate one, maybe two at a time, because that gives us more information. So a lot of times I like to do duration, 10 minutes of walking is painful, so I'm going to do 8 minutes of walking, do a little exercise, and then maybe do a little bit more walking. So we kind of, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. So duration allows patients to continue to do the activity that they love. We just kind of dial it down a little bit so we can help flip this equation, build up capacity, and make sure that that is above load so we are not getting pain and injury. This topic is going to kind of be a springboard into here. We're going to have a follow-up video learning more about capacity and load, and then we'll talk a little bit more about dosage. This is kind of the first video in a series of videos to kind of explain pain, understand injury, because I feel that if patients understand these concepts, they will more likely understand their pain, they won't rush out to unnecessary treatments, and ultimately they will see pain like it should be. It's a pain as an alarm rather than like this sign of tissue damage. So something to think about. If you have any questions, please let me know. Dr. Peters with Omni Chiropractic.